This is the new OLIGHT PL Turbo Valkyrie, and if you think this looks a lot like a regular Turbo Valkyrie, you'd be mistaken, because this outputs 800 lumens and costs a third less. And we're going to see all of its features and find out, do you really get more for less? On this episode of Moondog Industries. This is the new OLIGHT Valkyrie PL Turbo, and this is the newest model in the Valkyrie line. This purports to output 800 lumens and can throw a remarkable 515 meters, and that's pretty much 500 yards to those of us here in America and Freedom units. But we're going to test this out. We're going to see, let's find out what you get inside of this very neat box here. Have an under tray with an Allen wrench, and it looks like this is probably a block for to switch out between Picatinny and Glock cross recoil blocks. It has a README file, user manual, and warranty stuff. Okay, how to replace the batteries in here. So that's nice. It does come with the user replaceable batteries, which I know for many of you, including myself, I don't 100% trust non-replaceable batteries because, as we all know, batteries will eventually die, and who wants to throw out their entire flashlight when that happens? I would just like to have an ability to replace any failing battery. Now, let's take a look at this. See, PL Turbo, the Valkyrie there. In many ways, looks like their older model Valkyrie. They did switch out to a screw-on attachment point rather than the lever locking action here, but in many ways looks very similar. And yes, that does come with a pre-installed Glock recoil lug, and you can swap that out for a Picatinny spec one. But since I'm going to be putting this on a Glock or a Glock model frame, yeah, you'd probably want to just keep that one on anyway, and that's probably why they come pre-installed with that. Pull open here, and there are batteries in there, but it has this little paper blocker there so that the batteries don't drain during transit. You should place it down on a hard surface, press down on the battery cover, and then there you go. Let's see if this is working. Yes, it is. Yep. One thing I like about OLIGHT is its control scheme. You can turn it on, turn it off, momentary on, off. But if you want strobe, you have to press both of them together. And this is great because a lot of you folks out there, and I can totally understand, don't like strobe at all. So why would you want to have strobe accidentally come on by some strange combination of pressing it 2 times or 4 times or whatever? Or some flashlights will put on the strobe if you keep the button pressed, but then it interferes with your momentary on. Anyway, this is a really simple but effective scheme to keep you from accidentally turning on the strobe. You have to press on both pedals at the same time. So I really like that. And overall, this looks nice. It charges. You recharge your batteries to recharge, so that you don't have to deal with any fussy dongle, though those dongles have some people like them because you can also swap them out for a remote switch, but I've never been a fan of proprietary magnetic charging connectors, because then you have to remember to have that charger. This one you can just swap out the batteries, so Bob's your uncle, you can swap out for a fresh pair of cells and you're ready to go. So let's attach this on to a frame and see how well it hooks up. Alright, before we get started with testing this flashlight, I thought it'd be worthwhile to compare the differences between the new PL Turbo and an older model Valkyrie. And this is a PL2, which I own, and this is mounted on a Glock 19. And before we handle any firearms on this channel, we want to show you that it is safe to handle. There's no round in the chamber, no magazine in the magwell, so this is safe to handle because we always practice safe firearms handling here on this channel. And first, let me remove the older one, and immediately we can see some differences here. The finish on the newer PL Turbo is a much more matte black than the older PL2. Also, you can see here that it is just slightly longer by maybe a 1/4 inch. So that's something. Both of them have user replaceable batteries, and they have identical rear battery plates, battery caps. There are differences you can see here is the latching mechanism. This has a quick release latch lever, which I really like. This one uses a screw, but you can also see the differences in the top here. This has 2 screws per lug. This has a single screw on the recoil lug, but also very different design. This is because this is adjustable. This actually is a really awesome feature. You press down on the tightening screw here to open up your clamp, but this also unlocks this plate, which you can move back and forth. This is great because depending on the model of Glock that you have, you may have a longer barrel, shorter barrel. Glocks have a single notch on their accessory rail, so depending on the type of firearm you may have, this allows you to adjust the position of the flashlight relative to your trigger guard so that it has a nice snug position right next to the trigger guard. So how we attach it is we press down on this screw here to open up the clamp plate there, and we line up our recoil lug to the notch. And I have to say this for some of the folks who work over at YouTube, this is not a gun modification. This is a flashlight accessory for a firearm, and this is a required safety piece of equipment because you need to have proper illumination to use a firearm in low light at night or indoors. So this is a safety feature accessory. It's a flashlight. It's not night vision. It's not thermals. I know that may seem kind of redundant to us folks who do understand what this equipment is for, but believe me, I have been flagged, my videos have been flagged erroneously by a quote-unquote human reviewer who mistakenly identified some of these items as modifications. Anyway, this flashlight is now attached, and I've finger tightened this screw here, and you can cinch it even further using an Allen wrench or a coin, but let's just keep it finger tight for now to check its position. I can reach it with my trigger finger, and what's great about the design of these OLIGHTs is that this is not just a button that you can press down on to turn it on, but you can also push forward to turn it on. So that makes it very ergonomic. And this is why I like the design of the OLIGHT Valkyries. Alright, so I've had this flashlight on for over 30 seconds to warm up its battery chemistry, and I'm going to place it into my not NASA designed testing rig here, but this has been calibrated to a known 100 lumen reference light. So let's see, we're getting a little bit of a drop. Let's just call it 280. And 280 divided by my reference number, and we are getting 1,120 lumens, thereabouts, so over 1,000 lumens, and that is quite impressive considering that this is only supposed to output a maximum of 800 lumens. You are getting quite a bit more, or at least you are. I'm fairly confident you are getting 800 lumens at the very least with this flashlight, so that's a great thing to know that OLIGHT is understating their numbers, because there are so many budget flashlights out there that overinflate their numbers. So good on you, OLIGHT. Okay, so this is our beam pattern from 10 feet away, and we can make out a very clear hotspot. I'd say approximately a foot wide on this door from this distance, and there is a clear delineation between that hotspot and the spill. This flood cone is very narrow. You can see the outer edges of it as I'm moving the beam around. And it's funny that the hotspot is so narrow and bright that it kind of functions like a giant red dot projection, that basically anywhere where that hotspot is probably where you're going to be hitting as far as any rapid fire at short range. Alright, so that's a tree 15 feet away, and we have a wall 50 feet away, and we can illuminate trees up there on the hill 60 feet away, and we can easily get out to the telephone pole 120 feet away, and you can see quite a bit of fog tonight reflected back through this beam, but this beam is quite bright. Industry standard drop tests are from 1 meter or 3 feet. I'm going to drop it from 6 feet twice onto rocks and dirt, so we'll see if it still works. The PL Turbo is IPX6 waterproof rated, which means it can survive high pressure water jets from multiple directions. Just how high water pressure? Well, let's find out. Alright, let's see if it still works. And it does. Alright, let me just check out strobe function. Yeah, that's working too. And there doesn't appear to be any water in the bell. Let me just shake it off and take it indoors and check out the internals. Okay, I've had this indoors for half an hour to see if any moisture had started to condense. And usually if moisture gets into a flashlight, you'll see it as fogging inside of the bell. Nope. So that's a good indication that this was properly sealed. But fortunately, I did find moisture on the inside of the battery compartment cap when I opened this up. So some moisture did get past this O-ring seal. And let's just check out these. Oh, there we go. You can see water droplets on the batteries itself. So water did get into the battery compartment, which is a little worrisome. I'm going to have to dry this out before doing any further testing or use of this. Granted, this is only IP6 rated, which means that it's only rated for high pressure water jets from multiple directions. And by high pressure water jets, I don't think that meant a power washer like I was using, but still. IPX6 does mean that it can survive rain, which I'm sure this could. Just don't be jumping into any pools with an IP6, because it's not. That means it's not full immersion capable. I think you have to be IPX8 rated for that. So, yes, it didn't quite keep everything dry, but well within specs. So that is the OLIGHT PL Turbo, and I want to thank OLIGHT for sending this out for me to test and evaluate, but that's it. I'm getting nothing from them. I'm not promoting their products. I know they have a legion of fanboys out there who love their products, and maybe they're getting some sort of incentive for doing that, posting it on their social, like, you know, getting gifts or whatever. That's not me. I'm getting nothing from them, so I'm not beholding onto saying nice things about their products. In fact, you saw my test, the particular sample that I got, this did not pass my full waterproof test. I got some moisture in the battery chamber, nothing else in the rest of the flashlight, so that's good. And it still functions, but yeah, didn't quite pass the test. Granted, this is IP6 rated, which means that it can only withstand high pressure water jets in multiple angles. Not necessarily a high pressure washer, but you know, that being the case, anyway, it passed my other tests. In fact, from Lumen Test standpoint, it output more than the manufacturer even claims, so that's a positive. So in all other respects, I thought it functioned quite well. I'd be happy to place it on my own personal firearms. In fact, as you saw, I mount an OLIGHT PL, an older PL2, and I probably will swap it out for this for the foreseeable future, just because this has a much more focused beam than my older PL2, and that way I can also do some long-term testing of this product on my personal firearm. So anyway, if you're interested in getting one of these, you can find more product information and links and what have you on my full written article at my blog at moondogindustries.com. Definitely check that out. And if you got something out of this video, if it was helpful for you in forming your own opinion, please hit that like button and that subscribe button if you're interested in my content, if you like my videos, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I post my next product review. Thanks again for watching. You be safe out there. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.